Hey guys, so I just got myself a new Sherwood 530 wooden goalie stick, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how I got it here to being game ready for me to use, including how I was able to cut this trigger out here for better grip. Let's get into it, guys. The first piece of the stick I'm going to show you is the knob and butt end here. All I use is some yellow spongy tape, coarse scissors, and just some normal white blade tape. The first thing I do is just lay out some of the grip tape where I think I want it. So I'm just going to go ahead and start wrapping. It doesn't actually adhere, but it adheres to itself, so you can still kind of get a rough go at where you want it to be. Then I'm just going to cut that there and just kind of do that and fold it over. Now we kind of have the base of where my hand's going to go. Now we're just going to go ahead and do some white tape over it to secure it to the stick. So I'm just going to do one lap around on the top, bottom, and the top. Get some overlap so you, of course, hold it onto the stick, but you don't want to do too much so that it covers the whole thing. Let's do a simple cut right there. Doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be there. Then on the top, I'm going to do the exact same thing. Try not to get it to where it goes over the end of the stick, but if you do, that's okay. I'm going to do the same thing and just give it a cut. Alright, so now I have where my hand's going to go. Now I'm going to actually need to tape the knob. So that's going to take a little bit longer, but it's actually pretty simple. I like to only use about half tape, so what I'll do here is I'll just cut it. Then I'm going to need something to attach it to. Here's where I attached it to. I just attached it to this cabinet, and now that I've ripped the two pieces separate, I can just go ahead and either cut it off or just like pull it off a little bit. Then I'm going to start actually wrapping the knob of the stick. Just kind of line it up evenly and then just start going on around. Now that we're about halfway done with the knob at the butt end of the stick, I like to take a little bit of tape, not too much, probably about a square inch or so, right here. Let's give it a cut. Then I'm going to put it just right over the end of the stick. So I just put a little piece of tape right here. Doesn't have to look great at all, it's just to cover up the wood right there. Just to make it look a little nicer. And then we're just going to continue taping. Now that the thickness of the butt end is to my satisfaction, I'm just going to take another piece of big tape and just cut it. Then I'm going to go ahead and wrap it around the knob of the stick with a little bit hanging over the top. Then I'm going to just kind of smush it around this bottom edge. It will look better in a second. Then the same thing with the top. We're just going to smush it over the top. Looks pretty rough right now, but it's coming together. The next thing we're going to do, we're just going to take another strip, do the same thing. I'm just going to cut it in half. And I'm going to put another one right here to cover up what we just put down. And we're going to put just another piece right on the top. And that, my friends, is how I get my butt end ready for games. The next piece of the stick I'm going to show you about is just the blade. For this, we're just going to need some clear plastic sock tape, some scissors, and some normal thick blade tape. We're going to do a little bit of a layer of sock tape on the bottom of it and around the toe. That way, any moisture that does seep through from the ice doesn't help crack your stick. So by doing this, we give a little waterproof layer to help keep our stick safe. And just you can wrap it around the toe if you'd like. And then we're just going to give it a cut once it gets around the toe. Alright, and then we're just going to pinch it all the way down. This doesn't have to look good at all. The point of this is just to add a little bit of a layer. There we go. The next step is just to get our thick blade tape if you have it. If you don't, you can just kind of use normal tape. But I have 1.5 inch wide tape here, and we're actually going to start at the toe. The toe is the hardest part, which is why we're going to do it first. So if we mess up, we can just easily start over. So we're just going to tape as normal here. And kind of put your thumb in there. There. This is exactly what we're aiming for. See from right there? All we did was we just took some of our tape and pretended our toe wasn't actually bending in, and we just continued to tape over it. Then we just kind of fold it right there and flatten it all down. Then we're going to take our scissors and cut around the toe. There we go. A nicely done toe. Alright, so the next step is just to tape a little bit above the heel, is what I like to do. So I'll tape from about here down. I'm just going to start out, just go around and around. We're going to have to go around there, and then down there. Then you just kind of navigate your way through until this whole area is filled in. That's just what I like to do. I just did mine kind of quickly just to show you, but you can take a lot more time making yours to where it's just perfect and to where all the tape lines up right. But I just did a little rough thing here just to make sure I covered the heel right there at the bend. You can do it as neatly or as quickly as you want. Then we're just going to take what we've continued and just continue our way up the stick. Doing a little bit of overlap each time through. Once again, you can do it as nicely or as quickly as you want to do it. I'm just kind of quickly going through mine. This is about how I would normally do it right here. Just give it about 1/4 inch of overlap every time you go around. I usually go from heel to toe, but if you want to go from toe to heel, that's totally fine. But you will have to cut it from taping the heel before you start again. And once we get to the toe, you've already taped that, so all you have to do is just bring it right there and give it a snip, and then just fold it down. Right here we have a nice cleanly done tape job on our blade and a nice layer of waterproofing underneath it in case the ice gets through or the tape breaks down. This is exactly how I tape my blade, but there's still another way you can do it. So I'm going to show you a little quick time lapse on how I did that one. It's just to where you just go from here to here and don't really worry about the toe or heel. What I'm holding in my hand right now is a game-used stick from Maxime Lagacé of the AHL's Texas Stars. Notice how he has his sticks custom done with a trigger, so he can just put his finger right in there and get a lot more control than just having one finger out. This allows for better grip and better stick mobility, and I'm going to try to emulate this on my new wooden Sherwood stick. I'm going to use a Dremel tool with a sandpaper abrasive attachment for this, and I'll see you outside in the garage so I can show you how this is done. So before we started cutting into the stick that I'd been working on, we decided to do a little bit of a test on some scrap wood we had laying around, as is being shown here. We drew out where my finger would go so we could practice cutting that. And then we decided which drill bit piece to actually use when we were cutting the stick. The first piece we used on the Dremel tool was a little tiny saw, but it just pretty much disintegrated as soon as we started working. So we ended up settling with just a long rod that's kind of like a drill bit. And that was able to just cut right through it, and then we were able to use just a sander to finish it off and make it smooth. Here we are actually doing the cutting. It's going really, really fast, so there's not excess time where you just have to stare at us cutting a piece of wood. Alright, once we got it finished up and sanded, I was able to put my finger in there to test it, but I wasn't really able to see how it would actually feel unless we were to cut off the rest of it and make it actually feel like a stick paddle. So we went ahead and just chopped that off right there, and that way I was able to feel realistically what it would feel like. And once we got it to where it fit right, we started to get, that was the green light to actually start working on the new Sherwood stick that I had. So we rounded this stuff off here, got it all done, tried it on with my blocker, and once we knew that was going to work, we started hooking up the Sherwood stick as we're doing right here. We used that as a guide on where to cut, and then we drew down exactly where we wanted to make the cut. And then once again, we wanted to make sure it was perfect before we actually started cutting into it. So once again, I just felt how that would be, and we decided we wanted it a little bit higher up. So we just made a little bit of the cut there. We didn't go all the way down, we just kind of cut there, and then we made it a little bit higher up instead of cutting all the way back down. Then we just kind of smoothed off the edges there. I felt it again and I liked how it was, so we proceeded on just sanding it down. Then we flipped it around to sand the other side to make sure it was all evenly smooth. And right about here it started getting dark, so luckily we were finishing up. Here I was just trying it on with a blocker, just wanted to document that on camera. Just wanted to show you how it felt before we added on some more sanding around various parts, and just rounded out the rest of it just to make it perfect. We finished our cuts just as we ran out of sunlight here. Actually had to pull out my phone and use a little bit of the flash to actually get this to work, so we could see it, which you'll be seeing in a second. And here we were just rounding extra stuff off, like rounding off the paddle, rounding off the grip. Just simple things like that to make the stick perfect and ready for game use. And here we realized that it was going to be perfect. Alright, so I was able to finish up cutting a trigger, and the important thing here is just to make sure it fits your hand. And the next thing I'm going to do to show you guys is I actually like to put a little bit of tape right here where the paddle meets the shaft, and I can just get a little bit better grip and control right there. So what I'm going to start is by doing a little underlayer of thick tape. And I'm going to start from right above where my hand ends. So for me, that's right above at that 0. So then I'm just going to start on going down. Don't overlap too much, just do probably like 3 little wraps right there, and then just go back up. And I'm just going to cut that. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get my grip tape done, and just do a little bit there. And I'm going to go down, make it to where it just overlaps the paddle a little bit. I'm actually going to do that to where it overlaps a little bit more. That's about how I like it. So now I'm just going to get some thin stick tape again, normal. I'm just going to do a little bit one time around at the top. Tape that down, and I'm going to do the same thing here at the bottom. And of course, since we're at the bottom of the shaft, it's not going to wrap evenly, so I'm just going to tuck it under a little bit, just a little bit. I'm going to go back to the other side, and I'm going to try and line it up so it does the exact same thing. Alright, so that finishes up how I tape the shaft and the paddle right here. So now I have my group complete. Alright, that wraps up another video. This is exactly how I got my stick to be done. And like I said, there will be another video coming out on me trying to do this on a foam core stick, / myth testing a couple other things and seeing if it can be done on a foam core and composite stick. So be watching out for that. And make sure you don't miss it, so subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss that video and any one of our other awesome videos from this channel. Stay awesome, goalies.